Good thing you got memory.
Only because of the trick that we need this. Bob probably needs it because he picked his thing up.
Good evening. Welcome to the September 12th Board of Selectmen's meeting. You want to help me with pledge allegiance to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to notify everybody this meeting is being telecast live by Chelmsford Telemedia, and I'll ask if anybody else is broadcasting or telecasting. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. Okay. Public service announcements. Betty Mae Flaherty, library book sale, town offices.
You know what? I'm going to pretend I'm Betty Mae Flaherty this evening.
We'll let you do that, Fran.
All right. I need to
I do
put
that,
on my
but,
blonde wig, though.
Doesn't fit anymore.
Talk about the Friends of the Library book sale, which will be this upcoming weekend. Starts on Friday. It'll be from 9 to 9 on Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday, and 9 to 1 on Sunday. And as everyone knows, the book sale is held in the town office's gym behind this building. There's tons and tons of books. They've been just coming in steadily, so come by and buy some books to keep yourselves occupied for this long winter that we're going to have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Becky Warren, Farm Fair, Barrett Byam Homestead.
Good evening. Becky Warren, board member of the Chelmsford Historical Society, and I'm here to cordially invite everyone to attend our farm fair on Saturday, the 17th of September at the Barrett Byam Homestead, 40 Byam Road, right off of Route 27. It's an opportunity to celebrate Chelmsford's agricultural past, its present, and hopefully its future. So what does that mean? It means having some fun. So being able to make some apple cider, to go on a hayride, thanks to Donna and Henry Parley for coordinating the farm fair. We will have hayrides, we will have tours of the homestead, and we will have music and food. And we invite everybody to come and have some fun. And gosh, we've got the harvest moon on Friday night. So how appropriate that we'll have a farm fair for Saturday. Thank you, and I hope everyone can join us.
Thank you. Sue Rosa, Board of Health events. Hi,
Hello.
Sue.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I just want to make everybody aware of some events that we have coming up coordinated with the Board of Health. The first one that we have is next Wednesday, September 21st at 7 o'clock at the library. We decided to try to kick the school year off with information for parents and other community members on managing ADHD, increasing focus and productivity with or without medication. Brendan Mahan spoke for us at the library last spring on ADHD, was very well received. We had a lot of requests to bring him back, so we're bringing him back to talk about strategies. So that's next Wednesday, September 21st, 7 o'clock at the main library. And then next on our agenda, we are doing our third annual overdose vigil. September is National Recovery Month. So on Sunday, September 25th at 7 p.m. on the Chelmsford Town Common, we'll have our third overdose vigil to remember those who have lost their battle with substance use disorder, and also to honor those who are actually in recovery. The event starts at 7, but people usually start arriving by 6:30. At 6:30, anybody can write down the names of those that are lost, that they have lost, the loved ones that they have lost. And in the program, we actually will read and remember each one of those individuals. So we really encourage people to come out and help us with that celebration. And then we also have coming up a program on Wednesday, October 19th. October is actually Substance Use Prevention Month, and we are doing a community-wide program on Wednesday, October 19th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Chelmsford High School Performing Arts Center. And the topic is youth substance use, why it matters, how it has changed, and what you can do about it. So we encourage everybody to come out and learn everything that you can about substance use prevention so that we can protect our youth. And then one other program that we have that I would like to spread the word on is being sponsored through the Greater Lowell Health Alliance and Circle Home. It's actually this Wednesday, September 14th, at the Clark Auditorium at Lowell General Hospital between 12 and 2 and 5 and 7 p.m. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight. And what it is would you as a parent recognize in your teenager's bedroom signs of alcohol or drug use in your home? And they set up a display of a teen's bedroom. And in that display, they have all the various areas that young adults may hide drug paraphernalia. So basically, you learn signs and symptoms of alcohol and other drug abuse and what and where they may hide things in. So you can just basically walk through the demonstration. There'll be people there to answer questions. And again, that's this Wednesday at Lowell General, 12 to 2 and 5 to 7 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for everything you do.
Sure.
That's very
Thank you.
important. You have a question, Bob?
No, I'm all set.
I know Tricia's not here. Is Ron Hubbard here? Or Charles Svensson? Charlene, I'm sorry. Apple Fest events.
Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, Ron couldn't be here because he had to be at a meeting next door for the Historical Planning Board to get permission to put A-frames for advertising. So we kind of spread ourselves thin here. Our event is the 24th, and it runs from 10 to 3. We're starting off our event with a preschool parade through the Common, sponsored by the my notes here. Sponsored by the Central Co-op School daycare program. At 11 o'clock, we're going to be having a apple bake-off, and the judging will be announced at 12 o'clock. At 12:30, we're going to have an apple pie eating contest for the kids. We're going to have ongoing things. There's going to be free face painting for the kids throughout the day that it's going to be sponsored by Sugarbug Dental and Gentle Dental. And we have apple picking contest for the kids where they can pick for prizes. We also have throughout the day, we have a scavenger hunt for prizes. And one of our big things we're trying to promote this year is our jail and bail. If you know anybody who want to get even with, or you know anybody who wants to be competitive, we have people who are signing up for half-hour intervals in our jail, and they're going to be taking pledges, and the person who raises the most money will get a prize donation given to them. And at 2:45, we're going to have our raffle, because we have a raffle table, and the winners will be announced at the raffle. It's going to be a lot of fun. Pray for good weather. The Lions Club has had this for the last 5 years, and this is the first year that the town and the Lions Club are merging two events. So we had the Fall Fair, they had the Fall Fest, so now it's the Fall Apple Fest. And the town is providing, with DJ Nikki, she's providing entertainment throughout the day, including 2 different bands. One's the town jazz band. We have strolling musicians that are going to be in the center, and we're going to have them come in and be in the Common, so there's going to be something all day long for everybody. The event is from 10 to 3, and we hope to see everybody there, and if anybody is interested, we do have vendor spaces available still, and we would like to get the going. Any money that we raise through the jail and bail will go to help eye research, Massachusetts Eye Research. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, we have open session. Anybody like to speak on the open session? Come up. Podium. Nobody like to speak? Okay, go to committee vacancies.
Okay, as of today, this following committees have vacancies. There's one vacancy on the Board of Appeals for an associate member, one vacancy on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, one vacancy on the Civic Committee, several vacancies on the Cultural Council, three vacancies on the Energy Conservation Committee, one vacancy on the Historical Commission, three vacancies on the Public Celebrations Committee, one vacancy on the Recycling Committee, one vacancy on the Sign Advisory Committee, and two vacancies on the Tree Committee. If you're interested in applying for any of these committees, you can fill out an application online from the town website or pick up a hard copy on the town manager's office. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Okay, next we have public hearings. Public hearing on the impoundment of dangerous dog, Valerie Lopez, 42 Bridge Street. Is Valerie here?
Yeah,
Come up, please.
have issues.
Oh. Yes, ma'am. Valerie?
Okay, I swear in them.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna ask if anybody else is gonna, if anybody else is here that wants to speak this evening, something different than we've already heard, they could come up and be sworn in at the same time, please. Come up to the podium now. Is anybody here that would hope to, wish to speak?
George, I'm going to speak, but I don't think I need to.
You don't need to.
No.
Can I just ask a question? Last time, I never went first. It seems a little odd. I would like for the town to present their case first, please.
That's fine. That's,
Yeah,
this is just,
no reason.
you want to swear in?
Well,
Just swear her in.
first, let's, anybody that's going to testify, can you please?
Yeah, then we'll
raise your
just
right
get it out of the
hand?
way, so.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to address that?
Sure.
Ma'am, the last time you were here, it was for a different purpose. Under the statute, under Section H, we're here on your petition to get, to see if you will get your dog returned to you, pending the appeal at the district court. So it is your case to
Okay.
be made that you should.
Okay, so I'm going to let Zach speak first because he did not speak at the last hearing.
Fine. State your names, please, and your address,
Hi, my name's Zach.
Let's sing.
Address.
last name.
Topaz, 42 Bridge Street.
Thank you.
And how old are you?
I'm 12.
Okay, so be easy. Be gentle.
Go ahead, buddy.
Let me start off by saying, where's the evidence that my dog got even out? There's no evidence.
Is that it?
There's no evidence that my dog got out.
Okay, is that all you have to say, son?
No.
It's okay.
This is kind of stressed me because
Hey,
I
relax.
can't see my dog.
Right, I understand.
So I don't want to coax him, but I just want to help him talk about the whole situation from the time we moved here until now. So if he could just, can you just
Well,
give them your assessment?
Excuse me, Jeff, I'm not sure if all this is relevant, but if it, I mean, if we want to hear it anyway,
Yeah.
Again, Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe what we're here for is whether or not to return the dog.
Right.
So to the extent that, of course, you're running the hearing,
oh, I'm not.
but the fact that there was no evidence that the dog got out, I think that has already been determined with respect to a violation of the order at the last hearing. So what we're here for is to determine whether or not the dog should be returned pending this appeal.
Go ahead, son, if you want. You want to continue, Zach?
My dad's a cop, and, well, I kind of know this is wrong. I just miss my dog.
Thank you.
I speak next? Judge?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to speak next because the last time that you were here on the dog hearing, I was out, I was sick. However, I did watch the entire meeting. And I just want to say out front that in the 3 years that I served previously on the Board of Selectmen, and almost 3 now that I've been on the Selectmen, and all the years that I've sat out there watching the Board of Selectmen, I have never seen a dog seized at a hearing, and I think it's unfair. The lady who owns the dog probably thought she was doing the right thing, bringing the dog to show that he was obedient and that type of thing, but never have we ever taken a dog just like that. In watching the meeting, the fact that these people had rights was not made very clear. There was some mumbling at the end by the chairman about something about an appeal, but if anyone wants to go back and look at any dog hearings that I've participated in, I always make it loud and clear that they have the right to appeal. And as bad part of right to appeal, unless this dog was a vicious, vicious dog like one we had earlier this year, he should not have been taken at that point. I'm sorry, Eric, but I know that the chairman more or less directed that you take the dog. But it's never been done. It never should have been done. And I hope that we can return the dog to the owners and let them go through their due process, which they're entitled to. There are murderers and rapists out there that get more rights than this poor dog got. So I'm definitely in favor of returning the dog and waiving all fees that are assessed by the town. And if you want me to buy you a bag of dog food, I'll buy you a bag of dog food, Eric, okay? But this is one of the most unfair dog hearings that I ever witnessed. So I hope my fellow board members vote with me to return the dog to the owner. And I'm sorry I wasn't here last time, but it would have been a 3-2 vote anyway.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
So may I come up now? Or are you still
Yeah.
going to discuss?
Go ahead, Glenn.
I have a question of the dog officer. Bob had referred historically to other events where dogs had not been seized. Have you been involved with any situations in the past similar where dogs were determined that they should be euthanized, and the dogs were not seized immediately?
Yes, one other case.
When was the dog seized in that case?
Probably within a month later, and then
why-
it was euthanized.
Any idea why that was so?
It's the board's discretion. That's how they voted at that particular hearing. Every case is an individual case, and it's made up. You guys are the body that makes the decision. We follow it. So at that case, it was ordered euthanized. She went through the appeal process, and then we ended up seizing the dog and euthanizing it.
Did the board firmly state that the dog should not be seized until a later time?
No, they didn't say either way. It didn't even come up.
It just happened to be.
Right. And Jeff was involved in that case
It was made
as
clear
well.
at that hearing, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. It was made clear at that hearing that they had so many days to file for an appeal and everything. And I think there's two, Eric.
It was that day, too.
I think they were-
You told me, you
Right.
told Mrs.
I think they were-
10 days of appeal,
I think there
right.
were 2 incidents. The other incident was the dog that looked like the wolf that people said,
We never seized that dog.
I know.
Yeah, and it was never ordered euthanized either.
What did we order?
Escape-proof enclosure and muzzles.
He went to court and beat it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was
So
never
he
ordered
wasn't,
euthanized.
he was not a euthanized. Okay,
It was never ordered euthanized.
okay. Because, well, I'll speak again later, but,
May I try to clear something up
please.
here? Because I have represented you during the district court hearings on a number of dog cases, and I think that it's important to remember a couple of different things. Number one, the statute I can't say recently changed, but it's a change that's recent enough where a lot of circumstances now contemplated under the statute, you probably haven't been confronted with. And the big change that I'm talking about here is under Section H, which now allows the town to seize a dog if it's found in violation of an order issued under this section. The dog case that you were discussing, the bulldogs, that we ultimately were successful in having euthanized, that wasn't an instance where the dogs were found in violation of an order and immediately seized. Although I will tell you that the male later attacked a young kid.
Right.
And we did seize it, or it was a similar situation where the owner gave it up and we had it euthanized. So the statute does contemplate this seizure for violation of an order. So it's, I understand what
I
you're coming
said to
from.
say it hasn't been done in this town, and it certainly wasn't brought to our attention that we could do that. Ordering the dog seized at a hearing because the owner wanted to bring the dog. You know, I would have had the dog in East Oshkosh somewhere, okay? But I understand what you're saying, but, you know, I think that, you know, that's beside the point at this point, yeah.
I just thought I would.
That hearing was in last week was because of a dog, because of a situation where we had, the dog was deemed a dangerous dog. It had been in an agreement. He violated the agreement, and it wasn't the first time he violated the agreement. And that's why we kept them. That's all. I think if people did their homework, they would have understood. But they didn't. They don't do their homework. They just come in here and grandstand. So, go ahead.
So I think, Mr. Chairman, you were the only one that called for the dog to be seized. I don't remember a vote taken at that meeting.
Well, I think it was my call anyway, but it doesn't matter. I don't know. I can't
Judge,
recall.
jury, and executor.
Well, but there was no execution, Bob. I mean, I'll just say, I think, and something that you said too, was a concern that if the dog was not seized immediately or shortly thereafter, it would have ended up in East Oshkosh. So I think the.
We waited a lot of
I think
months for Algonquin Road to
I
be
think the
finished.
animal control, but that one was, the animal control officer, I think, was justified in taking that action to seize the dog that night.
Oh, no question on Algonquin Road.
No. I'm only talking about this one. I'm not talking about any other hearings or any other, dogs. We're here to discuss Katie, the dog Katie, tonight. I mean, that's what
Katie, yeah.
I'm.
No, I'm just
That's what I'm
using
refining,
as-
that's what I'm confining my comments
Using
to is.
as
that one.
background.
This is a
information.
different situation, as George said.
Well-
Every situation is different, and as Jeff
This
has
dog
mentioned,
got a human?
I don't know
Yeah.
that,
It
it was
bit a
a
human?
dangerous dog. It was deemed a
More than
dangerous
once.
dog, and it violated the
We had 8 months of
conditions.
hearings before, Bob.
That's inaccurate. We did not have 8 months of hearing. Neither did I receive an order stating
which-
that the
of
dog
which-
would be euthanized, which I have. And I would like to come up here
You-
and approach with my defense.
You asked for it, and I told you you
it's-
could have it, but hold on.
Is Eric done?
Eric, hold
Let's
on
see
a
if
second.
Eric's done.
I'm answering your question, so.
So I have been here previously and drug through the mud and humiliated and embarrassed and harassed and the whole 9 yards. However, these are the facts. In 2015,
I'm sorry?
sure,
Yeah, just
Valerie
please.
Kopaz, 42 Bridge Street.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, what is your name, sir? Your attorney?
I'm Jeffrey Blake
Jeffrey Blake?
from KP Law. I'm town council.
Thank you. Have you ever heard of the term autre fois acquit?
No, I have not.
Double jeopardy? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. It's a criminal
Correct.
concept.
Correct. So, in 2015, I had a hearing in Lowell District Court for the exact same thing, and I was found not guilty. I'm being tried again for the exact same thing. For the exact same thing. And I have the paperwork and the dockets that state the nature of the case with the judges. It was a bench trial, not guilty. So I don't understand how I'm being tried again for the exact same thing. In addition, I have letters from the board. February 26th mentions nothing about euthanizing my dog. It states muzzled and restrained. I have another letter, March 25th, same thing, muzzled and restrained. I have another letter, April 19th, muzzled and restrained. I don't know where this euthanization came into play. Probably because we had to drag this court hearing on for 5 months because we needed clarification regarding a fence. And if my memory serves me correctly, the dog, the 2 bulldogs that bit and tore open another child's arm and attacked somebody else, she had to install a fence. Her fence was not into the ground, nor was the top enclosed. So, what does that tell you? That this seems to be a little egregious on their part to make me take my enclosure that's on the side of my house, go 2 feet into the ground with concrete, nail it into a fence, and have a top enclosure to suffice what the board's recommendation was? Let me finish. Additionally, Katie at the pound has been outside. There is no enclosure over top of that. The fence is not in the ground. It's right next to his school. Right next to his school. This dog has been deemed a good citizen's dog. It has gone through training, and because I have one woman that likes to embellish everything, that her and I had a conversation on the phone that she didn't agree with my stance, this has gone way too far. People on Bridge Street have emails. My son can't even play with the kids on the street anymore because it's gotten so bad. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Does anybody have any questions for me? And Mr. Dixon, this is recorded. You should be very aware of what you say when I leave this courtroom.
I didn't say anything. I wasn't afraid that I have any regrets, as I said.
Did your dog at any time bite a human being?
During the investigation with the town, and this is on the February 25th, 2013 Board of Selectmen hearing, Dawn Cashman testified that my dog Katie left the yard to go to her dog, and in the event, she kicked my dog away on numerous occasions where I'm assuming, I never saw it and there was no proof, a gash or a cut on her leg. That is the fact. Fact.
Did she get hospitalization?
She did not receive medical attention. She did not want to press charges. In her report, she said it's a beautiful dog. I understand that Katie just wants to go to this dog. I don't want it to be euthanized, the whole 9 yards.
Okay. Is that person in the room now?
No, because she does not live on our street anymore.
Okay. And, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know, you referred several times during the last hearing that there were several people that had called you.
Yes, I have.
Are you willing to make those names available?
No, because they asked me not to.
Well, listen, this is a public hearing against the...
So additionally, I'm going to bring up
Oh,
a
I
point
don't
as
have to
well.
say anything in a
I'm
public
going to bring up a point as well. There is a police report, and it is on record, please be quiet, from Mr. Mulholland that says these occurrences occur weekly. If I have a vicious, dangerous dog, I think that dog would have been dead a long time ago.
Let me read a certified mail to you on April 9th, 2013. The Board of Selectmen is following up on the dog hearing that was held on February 25th, 2013 regarding your dog Katie. As you have been informed, the board voted that your German Shepherd Katie was deemed a dangerous dog, according to Mass General Law, Chapter 193, an act further regulating animal control. The board is looking for a status update on steps taken to ensure that your dog is contained in an escape-proof enclosure as the law dictates. The board further ordered that your dog be muzzled and restrained while outside until further notice. A violation of that order would result in your dog being euthanized.
So how does that supersede the two prior letters?
Excuse me, please. The Board of Selectmen has scheduled, and you signed for the receipt of this letter.
You've sent me a million letters. Who knows if it's the right letter or
That's because you didn't
not?
show up 5 or 6 different
Oh,
times.
I'm sorry. I'm a single mom, and I work and I travel.
The
So
point is, you didn't show up. in our hearing.
And
We
I
had
asked for
hearings.
continuances, and Mr. Lane in the reports clearly stated, he's sick of this, I'm like mocking you. I've sat idle for 3 years.
Okay.
Idle for 3 years.
Yeah, well, your
3
dog
years.
didn't.
Really? It hasn't sat idle in Bloomington, Indiana, where it lived for a year? No issues.
You don't even
Pennsylvania
have a-
visiting
You didn't even
people?
have the dog license in
No
this town.
issues. So that's cause again to kill my dog. That's what you're telling me.
Just what the violation, the order says, right here.
I have 2 letters here prior to that mention nothing. So someone, I don't know, maybe it was Miss Merrill, who's ACO's wife, transcribed some inappropriate minutes.
She doesn't do that for us.
She did. She did the minutes.
But
She
doesn't-
transcribed the minutes.
This is
Yeah, but she
a
doesn't do the,
certified mail.
This,
That you signed.
these are the letters that you sent me as well, and they're all dated here, and it mentions nothing about euthanization prior to that one. So you can't just pull that out of your hat.
You have, okay, you have anything else to say? Please.
Do you think that you made the right decision back in 2013
Got a
regarding
court
my
hearing
dog?
next month, next week, correct? It's gonna go to a magistrate, you have a right to appeal, you've exercised that right, which I'm happy for, and the court's gonna make the decision.
I would like my dog returned to me today.
right.
Today.
But we'll vote on that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did you say that the case, when you finally took it to the state, was dismissed, or you were found innocent?
Officer Merrill, in 2014, had tried to bring charges against me, stating that my dog was not wearing a muzzle and was out in public. Prior to that, he came to the house with 2 police officers, and ordered my dog to be seized and to take it to go get euthanized without due process.
Right.
So we filed in district court, and in district court, it was heard in front of a judge, and I have the paperwork here, and it was dismissed. The order, the petition, the charges were dismissed. Would you like to see it?
That was it.
It's signed by the judge.
Merrill, he took the pictures, you want?
Was counsel there? Was our counsel there for that?
No, I don't believe I was there.
How come?
Selectman Joyce, that was a violation hearing. It wasn't the original hearing on the determination of dangerousness. So that was just a violation of that order. So council was there for the determination of dangerous, which has not been overruled or invalidated by a court. This was for the instance when the dog had photographed pictures, which we have,
Right,
of the
right.
dog being walked in the center without a muzzle on. So
Okay.
that case
So
was
that's
brought
what she was
before.
found not
That's what she was
guilty.
found not guilty of. Not the dog was never removed from the dangerousness status, nor was the original order but
Okay,
vacated.
all right.
But the actual complaint,
Show
the
that to
complaint
Mr. You read it.
mentioned,
Show it to Mr.
ordered that I violated and euthanized my dog. That was the order.
Right, but the foundation order of the determination of dangerous remained in place because you never appealed that decision back in 2013.
That the Board of Selectmen imposed. And there's confusion
therefore-
around that because in February 25th, there was no mention of euthanasia, ever.
But-
It all of a sudden came up in April.
But the point is that decision and correspondence was sent to you in 2013. The hearing that was held last month was on that order. The other incident that you speak of did take place. As you said, it was found not to be violated by a judge, but the outstanding order remained in place for the dangerous determination, and this was the latest incident that the board acted upon.
Thank you for clarifying that, Paul. My last question was, there's something about photographs. What are these photographs of, and which dog is it? Because I've heard
That's
different
Katie.
stories.
That's just the violation of the muzzle.
Is this the 2016 violation, or is it the 2015 violation?
15.
2013.
Yeah, the mu-
2013. So is there anything here that relates to the current issue
Yeah,
that says
the
that this
people
dog?
were here, the people who were here and testified last week, that their dog was bitten.
Their dog, what did you say? Their dog was bit?
Bitten. Bitten.
Their dog was not bitten. He just says no.
Okay? Come up, please, excuse me. That they were attacked, whatever.
Gilligan was not bit last week, our dog. Matthew Mulholland,
Yeah.
69 Bridge Street.
Yeah.
My wife, Stacy. Gilligan was not bit, but Katie left the yard, and that's a violation of the rules.
And you were,
It was
but
just
that's
me.
not-
It was me with Gilligan as well as my sister's dog Tate. I had 2 dogs with me on leashes. We were not on their side of the street. We were on the opposite side of the road, and Katie left the property as well as the other dog that's on that property and came after Gilligan. Her oldest son did come out of the property and get the dogs back onto their property, but there was, I would clarify, there was no bite. But it was Gilligan who was, did have to go to the vet back in 2013, and in 2012, Katie had first approached us when I had my infant son at the time in a stroller. While in our family, no humans have been touched, they have gone after us repeatedly. I know that there has been issues about whether or not Gilligan was actually bit back in 2013. So we actually received, we went to the vet on Saturday and asked for the medical records to see what it said in there. And I have that if you'd like it, to show that it was a dog wound, a dog bite wound that he sustained on his leg.
Is there a picture of
That's
that?
a picture of it, yeah. So we do have, if you'd like the records from Countryside Animal, we do have those.
Did you say no human had been bitten?
In our family, no humans have been
Who
bit.
was the family that had the bite?
I don't know, the police had a few reports, I don't know. The police were chased and they tried to get in to see.
Well, I'd like to know who he bit.
The first one was Dawn Cashman.
She was a renter on our street, and she moved away several years ago.
Okay.
No one has contact information.
And was the bite severe or minor?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago, so. It should be in the police report.
Not this police report,
No, the initial one.
the initial, well, I wasn't on the board then, so I don't have it.
Lynn wants to ask a question.
George,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's right. I have a question for
I'll read
the
this.
town council. Do you represent other towns besides Chelmsford?
About 130 of them.
Have you had situations, similar situations, where a dog has been found, a dangerous dog, and some language has been created saying that if the dog were to be found unmuzzled, wandering the streets, whatever, that immediately the dog would be euthanized in process? Have you had cases like that before?
I've seen that language in orders, and my advice has always been that while you can put that language in orders, that before you go that next step and actually do it, that you hold a hearing to make a determination that the dog did in fact violate the order. So I think that's exactly what was done here.
So, have you seen that in other towns where it has been proven that the dog did violate the terms of his...
Just recently had one, in fact. The case never actually went to court because the dog owner ultimately euthanized the dog because it had attacked another dog and a person. So I have seen this very similar situation.
Was Katie given permission to come here last time without a muzzle? Because if she wasn't, then that's a violation as
She
well.
had her muzzle on.
she had
She
it
had a
on.
gentle leader on. She didn't have a muzzle on.
It's a muzzle.
A gentle leader is not a
It's
muzzle.
not
Okay,
a gentle
okay, that's enough,
leader.
please.
Well,
I provided
as far as I'm concerned, the dog was very well behaved,
It's
okay?
a comfort muzzle.
And whether it was a leader or a muzzle, it's irrelevant.
I
No.
agree.
Hold on a sec.
So, this is right across from where I live, right?
We're just gonna
Yeah,
take,
it is.
we're gonna close the
So-
public hearing in a minute, we're gonna take a
Do the
vote.
Browns have a
We're
company?
here for one reason.
What's your question for
Yeah,
us?
what's the question for
So-
us? That has
so
nothing to do with
right
us.
across
I
the
have a
street
cell
from
phone
us-
video too of your son coming
That
out
has
and
nothing to do
talking
with
to
it, and
me.
you smell like alcohol, by the way. So right across the street from my house, there is a friend of mine, a neighbor that used to be very good friends with their children with Zach, and we don't even speak to them anymore. However, the Browns own a company called Wave Guide, and they have 5, 6, 7 fleets of trucks on this street that's maybe 6 feet wide. I've taken pictures every single day this week of these trucks there. So if a truck takes up half of that street, that leaves
There's
3
another
feet
one
to
here.
walk down my street against my property with no sidewalk. And if my memory serves me correct, leashes are
So
3 feet
after her
long,
skipping
4
2 or
feet
3
long,
4
meetings.
feet.
6, 7, I don't know, some of them can be 10. Would it be possible that, like, you know, because your dog pees in the street all the time like my dog does, you know, your dog went up onto my property and they just barked at each other because, you know, you're so upset at everything and she's so dangerous and attacks you all the time. I'm just questioning. I mean, I've got pictures. I've got more. There's another one. Bob Brown's son has a truck there. There, at any given day, there are 2 or 3 trucks lined up in front of my house, which means there's half of the
She
street.
doesn't have right of way, yeah.
Okay, that's it. Does anybody else out there like to speak, please?
Get another member of the board that wants to speak.
Please.
You know, I'd just like to say that, and this is really addressed to your son more than anyone else, that we understand the attachment that people have to their dogs, that most of the members of the board have dogs, so they can understand that. You know, it's not an easy decision to make. You know, it's not a decision that's made, it can't be a decision that's made with a heart. It needs to be made with a brain. And it's a determination of whether or not sufficient warning was given in the past, the resolution was passed in the past, and that the repercussions of what happened in 2013 carry forward. You know, if the dog had been on good behavior and something was brought forward that the dog should then be claimed as a non-dog dangerous dog, there would be some compelling case on the other side. But nothing has ever changed, and you know, I have heard nothing to say that the dog has ever really been transformed from you know, his natural instinct.
So how can you sit there and say that after it was deemed dangerous for a nip or a tiny bite? I'm not minimizing this. But I'm going to go on record and state that when all of this happened, I talked to the mailman about it, and the mailman said, I'm going to go file a report that their dog tried to nip at him when he tried to deliver the mail. And he's been our mailman for 4 years and there's never been an issue. So in my mind, knowing my dog and letting my dog play with other dogs in different areas, dogs will go to other dogs. I don't care if she's a big dog. I don't care if she can inflict collateral damage, Eric. The fact of the matter is that when this incident happened, because I wasn't there, most likely she was coming up, went to the dog, Gilligan didn't like it. If she really didn't like Gilligan or another dog, it would have been a bloodbath. She came back and went back in. But the moral of the story here is that at the same time that she was deemed a dangerous dog, how could she have passed a good citizens course where if you get 3 strikes, you're out? You can't ever take it again. So you're going to tell me that my dog is that smart and said, you know what, I think I'm just going to be good for this. Or, you know what, I think Gilligan's coming down the road. I think I'm just going to torment this dog. You're telling me that my dog hasn't changed behavior?
I'm not telling you anything. I'm telling you that the dog has his own mind, that I'm not read the dog's mind. Right. The dog is what he is. You know, I use
and it's a she, please.
Just a moment. I used an illustration the last time.
But you talked about an Akita, which is the worst breed of dog that you could possibly talk about.
Yes, and the dog, please. And the dog is as gentle as any dog could ever be, except if he's put in an area where there's another dog, he will immediately go for him.
That's not Katie. That's
well,
not Katie.
That's your story.
It's not my story.
The town has presented a different story.
My babysitter in 2013 will be at Lowell because she was working tonight. On record, she says, I used to walk that dog up and down the street all the time. No problems ever. There are 26 dogs that live on Bridge Street, and there have never been an issue. So you're telling me she just looks at Gilligan and goes, oh, I hate that dog. Just that one dog. Let me go get it.
I'm not presuming to say what's on your dog's mind.
Well, you just said that my dog doesn't like other dogs.
I think the case has already been made that the dog did attack another dog. There's no There's nothing to say that didn't happen.
So if I run up to you and start screaming, that's attacking you.
No.
The dog didn't just run up and scream at the other dog.
I have one more question, George. If this dog did in fact bite a human being in 2013, why wasn't he euthanized then?
Because we made a deal with her to put him in a cage, to build the thing. She was going to build it. She kept putting it off. She was worried about the frost. It has to go 2 feet. By law, it has to go 2 feet in the ground, 24 feet, it has to be so high and whatever. She agreed to do it. However, we had 6, 7 hearings scheduled. She missed 5 of them.
That's not true. There were.
Okay.
I missed 2.
It's not worth arguing over. Don't worry about it.
So it never got done. So
are there any other comments? Because I want to make a motion.
Close the hearing before
close the hearing.
Okay.
Is there anybody else out there that wants to come up to the
Speak.
microphone and speak regarding this? You make a motion, Pat.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All's in favor? Closing the hearing?
I'd like to make a motion now to release Katie to her owner, subject to the court schedule and must adhere to all restrictions that are previously in place. Do you want to help me? Didn't you have some restrictions, Eric?
The board made them.
Okay, well, all the previous restrictions, muzzle, leash, in the pen, anything else you can remember?
Like
In
I said,
fact-
it's the board's motion, so.
I would just not let your dog out of your yard. Just,
It's not even the yard. I'm afraid
Oh.
that people will just call because she's in the yard. Like, I take my
no,
dog to
in
another
your
park.
yard, it's okay. Okay, so that's my motion, and to return the animal to the owner
So-
until all court proceedings are completed.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Joyce made a motion and was seconded. Any discussion?
We can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of Mr. Joyce's motion, please raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed to Mr. Joyce? Motion is denied. Dog is to be held. Thank you. That is the,
Mrs. Lopez, make sure that when you go to court, that I get named.
The hearing, the matter's still before the board. They haven't acted, there's no, the board,
well, we voted to,
you voted to deny his motion. You
Yeah,
haven't made any action.
Okay, then,
Make
Okay.
sure you contact me or put
Okay,
me
I'll
on
make a
your
motion,
list, because
Bob.
I want to appear for you.
Bob, I'll make a motion that the dog remain in the custody of the animal control, either at the Chelmsford kennel or some other appropriate location.
I'd like an amendment to that.
we have a second?
Second the motion.
Discussion?
I'd like to add an amendment that no charges be incurred by the owner for the dog being penned. No time in history have we seen this type of case where the dog has been taken so early and people are subjected to, what is it today, $15, $20 a day? What is it, Eric?
We got a bill of $1,800 the last time, and
It's 15 a day according to the
25.
citation.
And we-
15.
It went up.
ate it.
It went up. He's right. It went up at town meeting. It went
I
up.
have a ticket.
however,
that
I
he
think
issued.
under section 140, Mass General Law, it states there is a clause in there. I have no problem waiving it. Let's just get it to court and let them make a
Is
decision.
that a second?
It was
Yeah,
already,
he
No, it
did.
wasn't second.
He second. Oh, my
Second.
amendment, my
Right.
amendment. Yeah.
On the amendment, not on the main underlying motion.
I'll second the amendment.
Now they vote.
Now all those in
Amendment.
favor of the
Is
amendment?
there a discussion on the amendment?
Yes.
It can be.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I would go along with the amendment. However, I think it should be somewhat changed in that if the court finds supporting that the right thing was done and denies her petition, that there is charges.
Well, the court
There
will
is payment.
vacate, the court would vacate that anyway. That's what I'm saying.
right,
Well, they-
because it's in the
They
laws.
have the right to vacate the penalties anyway, so I don't think that that's necessary.
Okay,
So she's not gonna pay them until the case is adjudicated.
okay.
So I don't quite understand the nature of this motion because of the
And
condition.
I don't know if we've ever collected on any of those types.
We have active collection on a previous case
Yeah,
where we put a lien on someone's property to collect
Algonquin
payments.
Road, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And again, that's subject to a court order. So the point is nothing is going to be paid until this matter is fully adjudicated by the Lowell District Court. So I don't quite understand the nature of this amendment to what's going on here. Because the problem is if the case isn't and you've waived the fees, then in essence, the town's incurred the cost and you have no avenue or remedy to collect those fees.
So what if my dog dies while all of this is happening and it's not adjudicated?
All those in favor of Mr. Joyce's amendment?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Unanimous.
In favor of Mr. Joyce's amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, now the original motion, Pat.
Yep, so we're back to the original motion, which is to maintain the dog under the control of the animal control officer.
At the town's expense, basically, at this point.
Right.
I second the motion.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
All those in favor? Any other discussion right now? Okay. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 3-2. Thank you. Motion is, no, motion
Passes.
closed.
We're done.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you for
Wait, did you take some, the
Yeah, she
pictures
took
and everything?
the pictures that she had given out.
George, didn't you bring the pictures?
It was the pictures. She just handed them out, didn't she?
No, those are
Oh,
hot
they were
pictures.
yours?
Yes.
So-
Yours? Then go
Yeah.
get them.
I have those.
Oh, okay.
No, there's 6 or 7 pictures, please. Eric, why don't you get what, please, what belongs to you for the record?
George, do you have a dog?
Yeah, being,
What kind?
Can we
mongrel.
continue the meeting?
being put down tomorrow.
A mongrel?
14 years, all right?
14 years. Yes.
Okay.
I've had 3 of them already. They've made 14 years.
Reports and presentations, John Souza. Vacate a foreclosure at 379 Acton Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here tonight regarding the property located at 379 Acton Road. The memo that you received that was dated August 31st provided you with some of the history and the background information on this property. I'm pleased to report that all outstanding taxes, interest, and charges have been paid. And in consideration of full payment, I respectfully request the board vote to approve the motion that's been prepared. This will allow legal counsel to petition the court to vacate this foreclosure judgment.
Ready for the motion?
Please.
Okay. I'll make a motion to vacate the final judgment covering the tax taking made against Henry Sawish Jr. for unpaid taxes covering the property at 379 Acton Road, Chelmsford, upon payment of all taxes, interest, and charges due as provided under Mass General Law 1969.
I will second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0? 5-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bill Griffin?
He stepped outside.
He's outside. Bill Griffin outside?
Yeah, he's on his way in.
Bill Griffin, 101 Road, Mill Road Committee.
Good evening, folks. Sorry, just a second to get organized here. Thank you for taking the time to put us on your agenda this evening. Obviously, the schedule for the fall town meeting kind of dictated things a little bit. We're here for 2 purposes this evening. One is to present to you the draft of our final report for your acceptance so that we can make that submittal, and also to provide some language for a proposed warrant article based on those recommendations. First, if I might, I am joined by some of the members of my committee. A couple of our folks aren't able to make it, but joining me tonight are my vice chair, Brian Latina, and Sarah Pereira, a member of the board as well. Unable to make it tonight are Curtis Barton, our clerk, and 2 other members, Louise Kreitz and Reverend Evans.
Bill, do you have handouts?
Actually, it's going to be this slide deck that's here.
That's the only one?
We have the, I did send
Should have got an
this
email.
slide deck
Sunday.
to Tricia last week. Yep.
Paul, did you get an email?
Yeah, I sent that out to you.
Yes, yes,
When
we
you were out here
haven't- yes,
yesterday
I read
morning.
Yeah.
I did read it.
My email has been reliable lately.
Here, give
So-
this to Mr. Joyce, please.
So there are actually 2,
No, it's not in the book. Yours, Richard?
Oh, thank you, Brian.
Bob, if there's any difficulty with any of that, feel free to follow up and we can get you that other information.
Glenn, you have?
I read it.
Okay, so once again, twofold purpose, to close on an action that started as a result of a special town meeting. Back in October 2014, the special town meeting was called for the purposes of purchasing the property as it became available, as the Met Collaborative was no longer using the site. And as you know, the town meeting voted to accept that and also put into place as one of the amendments in the article to establish a committee to help determine that path forward. And that became our mission, to evaluate the site and make recommendations for potential future use. Just by way of refresher, this is the parcel that we're talking about. It is adjacent to the Murphy Fields, which you see in the southeastern corner at the top left of the picture, bordered on its right side by the entirety of the 99 Mill Stream and fronted by Mill Road. As we go along, it'll be useful to note that the interaction between 101 and 99 Mill goes quite a ways back, where Mr. Green was responsible for the upkeep and care of both properties at one time, having owned both of them. It may work better, Paul, if you just do page up and page down. In terms of current state of the property, this is one of 3 federal-style homes left in the town of Chelmsford. It's in its bicentennial year, actually, this year of the property. And what you see are the main views of the front of the house facing towards the west, towards 99 Mill in the upper left, the northeastern corner in the upper right, where the addition was put on some years ago, and a nice, interesting view from the back southeastern corner facing out towards the property and out towards Mill Road. And that'll be a view that you'll want to keep in mind as well as we move forward. Okay. In terms of current state of the property, this is a view looking from the 99 Mill side back towards that southeastern corner. And once again, want to draw your attention to sort of this natural amphitheater area here, and another view of the large open area that's out back closest to Murphy Fields. Looks like we're a slightly skewed view here, but this view is looking from the 99 Mill property eastward towards 99, towards 101, excuse me. And the reason for these views is to show you the tie-in between the two properties. Again, Mr. Green had done a lot of work to sort of make them contiguous to one another. And once again, the idea of the small little day shed or day resting area, if you will, and the gazebo, and the frontage along the mill pond, and the trees in the upper corner there are all very important views for later. Looking out towards the west and northwest, you get a different view from this property out towards 99 Mill, and you get some of the tremendous views of the 3/4 scale mill stream that Mr. Green had set up. And there are multiple ways in which these venues can be accessed, and as you can see from these slides here, they're extremely photogenic, particularly in the fall. Is that cutting off for some reason, Paul?
Well, it's cutting off on the paper slides, too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not what it looks like on the slide deck, so. This is a PowerPoint show? Yeah. Do you not have PowerPoint loaded on the?
PDF, that's from a PDF, Bill.
No, the PowerPoint show one is a PowerPoint file.
Right, but I don't have that file in front of me.
Do
Quickly.
you have PowerPoint?
Sure.
Okay, because.
You have to open PowerPoint and then open the file.
Carry this back up just in case.
I think we can figure out what the first letter is.
It should pop up.
Apologize for the delay, folks. Came with backup just in case, though. So it should just be enter, enter, enter. Okay, so now they're not cutting off. Okay?
I think you're right here.
All right. Great. So in terms of achieving the committee's mission, we used the following approach. Certainly wanted to take the time to make sure that whatever input we gave back to you was done with due diligence and proper effort. So we did have open house sessions at the property where we encouraged people to come by. We had some visitors there. We had information booth at the farmers market where we had plenty of feedback throughout that session. We established a committee website and made feedback forms available there and posted information. And we did have our public input sessions during our committee meetings, at which we met approximately every other week over the last 20 months. This input, along with some feedback that we received from some subject matter experts relative to proposed uses for the site, along with the town officials and the actual data that we were able to review in terms of the historical and other analytic data relative to the property itself, were the underpinnings for the recommendations that you'll see coming ahead. During the evaluation, the committee ended up establishing the following priorities based on the discussions of surrounding achieving a functional mission for the property that we wanted to pass on to you. In terms of being one of the last 3 homes, it's important that we feel that the property should be preserved in so much as possible, that any future use not be a financial drain on the town. The property should be self-sustaining, and any extended use of it should be a spiral development. And I'll take a moment really quickly there to explain. Several of the projects in town, whether it's the fire station or whether or not it was the town halls, they typically come with large price tags because you're looking to roll out the red carpet from day one as complete. We believe we have a different approach for this property, and we have working examples, and you'll see that shortly. In terms of, I'm sorry, can we go back, Paul? I didn't quite get to finish the other points. In terms of any sale of the property, it's very important that we believe that the property should be kept as intact as possible with the appropriate restrictions for conservation. If you have an opportunity, especially with the fall coming up, really do encourage you to contact Mr. Ripsum or Mr. Sperry of the 99 Stewards and go down to the mill stream and look from the top of the dam back towards the Murphy soccer fields. And I think you'll agree with the committee and the assessment of the tree warden. The stands of trees that are there are some of them are very old and contribute significantly aesthetically to the area and should be preserved. In terms of the, once again, it is an anchor point for that area of the neighborhood. It serves as a tie-in into the residential area. We talked about this in our annual report of last year. And it's really a wonderful underpinning to be able to get in towards the soccer fields and towards the town forest. And again, that's a tie-in towards future use. In terms of the evaluation matrix, again, there's a lot of material that are in the appendices in the report that we've presented to you, and there'll be others that we post on the site. But in terms of the weighted matrix, at the end of the day, the use as an event venue with a public garden were the 2 highest scoring options, if you will, in terms of the criteria that we talked to you about. And those were what we began to formulate the feedback to you on. So in terms of the preferred recommendation, we're recommending preservation of the site. Given its historical importance, it's very well tied into the colonization of the town. It was one of the largest areas that was deeded from the King of England towards establishing the mills and such in that area at the time. And we'd like to see it remain as contiguous as possible. Again, the forested elements from the tree committee, we've received strong feedback there that they should be maintained as much as possible, including the strip abutting the driveway out into the soccer fields. The recommendation that the home and the grounds become the central features of the anchor site, and an open space being able to cater to a variety of clientele, similar to the Pierce House in Lincoln, Mass. What we're talking about is an event venue space that utilizes the outdoor area, as opposed to depending strictly on the building in its entirety or its internals. And this is a very viable example. We have a number of them beyond that, and in fact, just learned this evening that there are other opportunities to explore in Concord for these working models. But they are self-sustaining, and they do make a wonderful blend of use of the outdoor area in relation to the building, and one of our strongest pieces of information in terms of the Pierce House was just how long and how well that spiral development can go when you connect the right people with the property. What we're asking also is that the town, as this moves forward, potentially to work closely with the stewards at 99 Mill. One of the things we received strong support on was the attendance from Mr. Sperry at our meetings, being able to discuss with him possible opportunities given the natural tie-in of the areas and the structures that were on 99 Mill, to be able to take advantage of those features and allow the two properties to continue to thrive. The last recommendation is that for a next step that a site coordinator be engaged to manage that property schedule and oversee the development in a model similar to what was done in the Pierce House. And what we're saying here is that it can be done in small steps. When the Pierce House first started, the person who is now the caretaker there, Mr. Silver, did it as a part-time job for $4,000 or less when he started that 25 years ago. And it has now become a centerpiece for that town for any number of their events for private citizens, as well as for some of the town-sponsored events as well. Things like a Star Night on Murphy Field where this site could be available, or other Winterfest events. You can use it as an anchor point for those kinds of things. So as a quick visual, this is the Pierce House in Lincoln, Mass. They use the venue for the kitchen, the house, and the tent. It is run through the Lincoln Historical Society, and it is one of the longer standing event venues that's out there. The second example that we have on the next page, please, yeah, is the Asa Whiting House in Holliston, Mass. And this is the reason I've put both of these up here in talking with the committee, is we wanted to be able to show you the diversity in the setups. This is a little smaller house, but it is the idea of being able to use the grounds with the tent for the outside area. It also is run through the Historical Society, and we were able to get a price for that.
That was $1,800 for the day, is that what that is?
That's $1,800 to reserve the site for the day.
What was the previous one? Sorry, the one in Lincoln, I don't see a price here. Did you?
Yeah, at the time, we were still trying to understand from Mr. Silva what he would charge for the different events. It was unclear. We didn't want to put the wrong information in there. So they do town events where they only charge for cleanup, Sarah? Mm-hmm. And we weren't sure what that number was, so we didn't want to mislead you there, but we can get...
Depending on whether you're a town resident or non-resident.
Correct. So we can still provide you that information before we go to town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think so just as a very brief example, Sarah and her husband were kind enough. We were trying to show examples of the property. It was a little bit later in the year. Obviously, we've had some challenges with getting funding for inspections and things relative to the fall and stuff. But this is looking all along the property out towards the southwest, towards the gazebo that's on the 99 Mill area. And if you had that with fall foliage or with the summer foliage, that natural amphitheater really lends itself to some wonderful events. And the folks that actually were in the building before the MEC Collaborative had a number of outside events, and very successfully, as we found out during the public session at the farmers market. In terms of a fallback position, there is always divestiture, and what we're saying is that if with the spiral development, the risk is somewhat limited. If at any point the site venue becomes untenable or not achievable, what we're saying is that I understand divestiture is an option, but we really should be taking every precaution to avoid overdevelopment or subdivision of the site. The area is quickly becoming saturated. There's a large 40B out on the Billerica line, almost 400 units. There's the new 40B that's going in along Fuchs, and obviously there's the topic underway for the complete reestablishment of the entire mill corridor down along from 129 up to Turnpike Road. So the neighborhoods that are left there are very close to going extinct with what their original farm sort of or country setting was in that area, and the property and the mill tie in very strongly in that area. We do encourage that if this becomes one of the option to pursue, that speaking with the open space stewards and all of the other commissions in town to put the proper language in place, be an important action to the committee to make that as sturdy and strong going forward as possible. So with all that being said, the last couple of slides here are just in terms of the warrant article request that we'll be putting before the town meeting in October. And thank you to Paul for helping out with the wording and the language on this, given our timing. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying not to overstep what our charter was, which was to give you recommendations, but also we wanted to make sure that there was some momentum or some impetus to act on those recommendations going forward in time to potentially make use of the 2017 season. So the committee is requesting that the town allocate the sum of $20,000 in order to engage the appropriate resources to plan and navigate getting potentially prepared to do those first set of events. And again, this is in keeping with the mission. So the specific wording of the language, we've now put in the dollar amount and extended the wording slightly from the generic posting of the warrant. At this point, Chairman Dixon, we'll give you the one hard copy. Obviously, you guys have the electronic. We'll consider this a draft at this point. We're chartered through the end of the year, so we'll be available for amendments from the selectmen or commentary, and certainly from any actions that arise out of the fall town meeting. So,
I think you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Thank you.
The $20,000, it's just to plan and navigate. Now, what about, does there have to be any work done on the interior of the building to make it code enforced?
So, Bob, more than likely there will be some of it, and we do have resource information relative to that. One of the things that we've been sensitive to, and between the time of Pat's involvement and Ms. Askenberg's involvement as our liaison, we were trying very hard to stay within our mission, which was to give recommendations, not to formulate the final solution. So we've found a model that works. We have numerous examples of how it works. We felt it would be overstepping our bounds to outline the specific steps to do that. What we're saying is to go out and engage the proper resources like that of a Mr. Silver, to understand what it would take. We do have reference information if that becomes necessary on how he was able to achieve that.
Who's Mr. Silver?
He's the gentleman that's the event coordinator for the Pierce House in Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
We actually had him out on the site, looking the property over, looking the building over. He gave us a number of points of feedback from that, and we can certainly have a discussion with you about that. We just, again, we're trying to run true to our mission as opposed to a final solution.
Another question. Were there any ideas that were probably not as good as the venue idea, but didn't make it to the top of the list? Were there any other good ideas?
Yeah, so that's actually another reason for the stretch and the timeline. You know, I understand that 20 months has been some time has passed. We did wait in terms of phasing. As you know, the school committee was looking through its capital needs assessment. We did have the school committee out on 2 different occasions to look over the site because of the 3-phase power into the building and because of the former hardline network setup that's there, to see whether or not they could utilize it as a primary tenant. In the end, they decided that wasn't functional for their needs. We also talked about having other primary clients in there, or some form of primary client with secondary folks moving through, like Scout Explorers or that kind of stuff. In other words, somebody that would keep the lights on in the building regularly and keep it
Right.
exercised,
Right.
and then have other folks move through the space. The challenge there was how would that be self-sustaining? And it was really hard to come up with a model that would work. These event venues are self-sustaining. The money that's made from the Pierce House is put back into the building, and they've grown it over time as their funding has evolved, and they've made incremental or spiral improvements.
I assume they would have to hook up with a caterer of some kind that would probably be like the house caterer and...
So there are a number of different, each one of those sites has a number of different ways that they go about it. That's in part of our supporting documentation in the appendices. And we can certainly, as the town, should the town decide to move forward, I'm certain that members of the committee would be more than willing to follow up on what we've put in that report and put folks in contact with those right people to maximize return on dollar. We understand that there's some opportunities out there where you may not have to be fully costed out for kitchen items and things like that. They can be done
Right.
With top quality material
Right.
without top quality price.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Anyone?
If I could?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to add a little excitement. He's an engineer, I'm not. My son, Kevin, and his wife were married in one of the examples. We didn't realize it at the time. Brian Latina, Precinct 4, also town resident, 15 Jesse Road. My son was married last June in the Eliza White location in Halston. And the kids went looking for a wedding venue, and they had to go all the way to Halston to find one. It cost them about $1,000 to use the barn facility, which was open to the weather. It actually rained in the evening, but it was a fantastic site. The kids had a blast, and this is the latest thing. In fact, I'm going to another wedding in October at another venue very similar to this. The closest we have around here is about 30 or 40 miles away. And my son and his fiancée found this place in Halston and I have to say it is nowhere near as nice as our location here on Mill Road. Has no history like this one does. They moved it to the site. It's across from the police station, busy road out in front. This, with a tent out back, would put that one to shame. And they did a fine job. It was very simple. Caterer came from the Cape, so you could do different catering arrangements. It was exciting, and it cost them $1,000. The town of Halston actually uses this location, theirs, to put on different events. So I want to try to express some excitement in this location, and more important, what I was seeing with the younger set. We're all old, we were already married and all that, but the kids were really excited about the concept of having a wedding venue someplace in our town, in our area, that they could use. Closest, I think, being Lincoln right now for $1,800. I think we can do better in our town. So that was some excitement there. And I also wanted to mention, on the matrix that Bill was discussing in your presentation material, are other topics that we looked at, and we did a weighted average, and a lot of science went into this in terms of trying to find out what does it cost to put in a public garden or a single tenant use of this facility. In other words, perhaps the town school committee would like to use it for its previous use, a school function. We put in some weighting, and the event venue thing popped to the top of it based on that matrix, and that details in the appendix as well. So, okay.
Brian, as
Yes.
far as parking
Yes.
is concerned, if you had a large event,
I'm sorry?
If it was well attended, I mean, so you're talking like a couple of 150 people, 100, what would be your maximum?
They had about 150 at my son's
Do you have
wedding.
sufficient parking over there if you,
Surprisingly, it was a lot smaller than our lots here with the soccer field area parking and the front section. Our venue was actually bigger here, if we had this as a venue, than the one in Halston, and we had about 150 people, and it was comfortable, but I saw ours as a little bit better, and parking wasn't an issue.
how much space do you have, including the soccer area?
So, George, again, there's probably, in speaking with with Mr. Silver, we looked at the property, and he was, the comment that he had made was you could handle people or parties upward in the 100 area. One of the things was going to try and close with, in terms of what Brian was terming to express an excitement. I was trying to give you the information, but when we had him out there, what I explained to the folks was we'll be able to tell very quickly whether or not this had any probability of any success at all. If he had wrinkled his nose in the first 5 minutes and was looking to get out of there, we would have understood that the property had no chance. He ended up spending close to 2 hours with us, and he gave a multitude of information, his resume, if you will, written on parchment, as it were, of all the things that he's grown into in terms of this property. He looked at the parking. He looked at the adjacent area. He looked at the drive-in off of the main highway. The accessibility was good. He understood where the local hotels were. He's like, that's the kind of thing where the wedding party rents a small bus and shuttles people back and forth from that location. He was very positive of the site, so much so that he had said if he was 20 years younger and felt a little bit stronger, he'd be looking for the opportunity to develop this site much as he had done the other site. Okay. One other thing I'd like to bring to your attention, and if you'll indulge me, I'd like to have Dave Sperry come up for just a minute and allow him the opportunity to make a couple of comments. As representative of the stewards of 99 Mill, he was very dedicated in attending the sessions, provided us with a lot of good information relative to not only the 99 site and its future plans, but to 101 as well. And I think he may be able to share with you some even more recent developments in terms of goings on in Concord that are much similar to what we're talking about tonight. Steve.
Hi, Dave Sperry, 12 Longview Drive. I help out at the mill and have been providing input to the 101 mill team. And I want to thank them for being so diligent and working so hard at putting this together and showing us opportunities we hadn't thought about for bringing the mill and the properties there out more into the public awareness and be more of a nice focal point for the town. That it's not just the center of town. And talking to my younger friends at work, yeah, they're excited about doing wedding venues and that type of thing, and they're going 50 to 100 miles to do those kind of weddings, to find places like that. I also was down in Concord at the Old Manse House this last weekend, and they were running 3 events at that place, and their parking wasn't all that much more than what's at the soccer fields at this point. So there's an economic model there also. And the Trustees of Reservations, okay, a statewide organization, has a number of sites that do similar work like this. And we're having one of their representatives come out in October to walk 99 Mill Road to get ideas of how to really present this to the public and make it more of a gem for people to enjoy. So again, I want to thank all the hard work the 101 Mill Road people did in bringing this to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I read the report, and obviously there was a lot of effort put into it. But I have some concerns about it. One is, what would you say to all the families that use that field as a soccer field and park their cars there if you were running an event at the same time?
So, Glenn, I'm glad you brought that up because the use of the soccer fields would be limited to the extent that the event venue doesn't have to be used all the time. Mr. Silver has commented several times during his visit. They only run a limited schedule, number one. Number two, the option for the spiral development allows the town to utilize the fields as much or as little as it chooses to. If you decided to engage that as an anchor point to be able to use stargazing nights or movie nights and be able to utilize the kitchen area to serve refreshments or make it part of one of the anchor points of Winterfest, that would be the town's choosing. But that facility, in order to run in a season, the information we have back from working models is that event venue does not have to run 7 days a week. In addition, the site that Mr. Sperry was just referring to actually has a size restriction. Was it 30 or 35?
The one in Andover will be 30.
So there is the ability to limit the size of the parties. Again, the idea of spiral development, we're not talking about the Chateau de Ville here. We're talking about starting out small and utilizing some very smart people and smart resources and models that have worked in other places in actually tighter spaces. Some of these are very challenging to get to and have basically, Sarah, what, on-street parking, right? Not even the parking lot that's there. Again, we're trying to keep within our mission of making recommendations. If you wish to charter a group to talk about how to redesign the site and maybe shift the parking lot a little and what kind of timeline and what kind of appliances can be used, we have access to that information. We can point you to that right kind of stuff. But it wasn't our mission to solve the exact day-by-day operations of this. It was to bring forth a viable potential alternative for the site.
Well, it would seem that if you don't have enough parking, that you're not going to be able to hold events there.
I disagree, Glenn. We have several other models from within the site, and if you'd like to, we can accompany you out to those other sites, and you can. Sarah has taken several trips out to view these places. Most of these pictures and the information came from the work and the dedication that she did. Several of these sites have less parking than what you see there.
Are any of them using, like soccer field parking?
Yep.
As part of their, whatever they're doing?
It's a great example because on one of the days I was driving by, the parking lot at 101 Mill was packed full, and I thought, what in the world's going on? The town actually had closed the soccer field parking lot on a soccer day, and they ended up utilizing that parking area and the area in front of the soccer field as a way of parking all the soccer events for that day, and it worked just fine
Well,
without any issue.
Have you talked directly to any of the sports teams, organizations?
It was a
that
little
use
out
that?
of our. It was a little bit out of our.
Yeah. So again, we're starting to get into technical areas, and I don't believe you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but nowhere are we saying that the soccer fields must be used for this. We gave several examples. Again, at least one of them has just on-street parking, correct? We were looking at the site-specific to start out in a certain way where it was self-contained and allow the town to spiral out from there in a way that it felt makes sense. You can make it as small or as large as it needs to be.
How many cars can actually park on the site?
Right now in the current parking lot, it's somewhere in the vicinity of 20 vehicles.
And you mentioned that there was a caretaker 25 years ago who was doing it for $4,000?
It started out as a part-time effort led by a part-time person. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe someone on the board knows, what's 4,000 25 years ago today? 5 times as much? Would have to be, I would think. 20,000 to find
So the amount has certainly gone up, but the models haven't stopped working. That house is still running and still viable by the same gentleman that was involved with it 25 years ago. I'm going to take exception to something here. We were asked to bring forth a recommendation, not give you the operating model for the property. And so that's what we've done. If you wish us to do something different, the committee could take that direction and go back. But the scope that we had was to make a recommendation for future use, not a model of future use.
You have a question? I'm sorry. You're not
If you're making a recommendation, it has to be based on viability, doesn't it?
It's based on factual information from similar sites and the operating models that go with them.
Did you take, your report has nothing to say about cost, maintenance cost, for example, of the site. Do you know what that is on an annualized basis?
I think that would be more something that would be more.
It depends on the site, it depends on how much we want to do each year, it depends on a multitude of
I think that would be more for the
variables.
town meeting.
Are they going to have to come back? Because you're going to be making your recommendations
That's
in
right.
2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. So it's, unless they want to come back, or if you want to finish that tonight, that'd be up to you.
You're basing your model on the fact that these type of events bring in X amount of money. Depending on, and I understand that, depending on the attractiveness of the site, the more you can charge. I think probably the biggest one around here, most expensive, probably there's a castle up in Ipswich, I think, which is thousands to rent that, but it's the same kind of thing that you're talking about, I believe. Well, not that big, but the idea, the model is the same. The idea of it, that it's going to be something that you can hold weddings at, or, you know, various retirement parties, whatever the case may going to be. The question is, you know, my question really focuses on, one, not impinging on other events that are going on that need the parking. You're saying that the parking is there and it's not going to interfere. I'm not sure I'm hearing that it's not going to interfere. I would think that people would want to have weddings on a Saturday. If you go by a soccer field on a Saturday, there is no parking around town.
They're not parking, they're not parking in that property. If they are, then they shouldn't be.
And you usually want to hold a wedding.
The way that this was established was to use models that were out there and working on properties of similar size. We're not basing our recommendation on the castle in the clouds or on Gibbet Hill or anything else like that. These are barn-like structures or historical buildings with small open land area. So I
have a question, and this may extend past where your mission was, but what do you envision the relationship between the two properties are? If I were attending a wedding at 101, would I be encouraged to stroll into 99 property, or is that, how would
this
that
is one of the
work?
other challenges. Mr. Ipsum and Mr. Sperry have done outstanding work with the other members of their team to understand how Mr. Green left the other property, and if you've driven by, they're actually doing a tremendous amount of work out there on the grounds to sort of liven it up. In the conversations that we had, we're talking about utilizing the opportunity to those other structures, the gazebo, the boathouse, the day area shed. There's sort of a natural amphitheater there for pictures. We're not talking about people wandering through the entirety of the mill stream as part of the wedding area. They would be encouraged to utilize the area. Dave, make sure I'm not misstating this, because we've talked about it, okay, for photography and, you know, that type of element of it, because there is that tie-in. And what we're hoping as well is by the town making that investment, they give the 99 Mill Stream the opportunity to continue to bring their property forward and combine the two into a resource that, as their team figures out what to do with the property, can really be something that the citizens of the town can utilize. The Mill Stream buildings that over by the spillway and stuff are three-quarter models with machine shops in it, and et cetera. Mr. Green had his entire manufacturing area up there. It would be a tremendous place to be able to someday bring in the younger school kids or people that are thinking about going to the tech and looking at if the workshop area is still set up, or bringing people in for a woodworking class or those kinds of things. The two properties have this symbiosis there, but they need time to gestate.
So is 99 privately owned still, or is it?
It is privately owned, correct? But again, with Dave's involvement, we're not making a leap here to you on something that we haven't consulted with them about. Dave's been present when we've done the walkthroughs and things like that, and we'd like to think. I think his comments here tonight show you that they're very pleased with the effort.
One of your options, there were a number of them, and many of them were claimed as not feasible. But one of the ones that was claimed feasible was to sell the property if things don't work out, for example. And you had mentioned that during your presentation. And that if selling it, it was best to do it in two parcels so that the integrity of, for example, the trees and so forth are maintained.
So a correction there, Selectman Diggs. We said that the property should remain contiguous and not be split into parcels. If that's in there, then that's a correction that needs to be made. The summary report in in the slides here, which we went over last Wednesday as we prepared to meet with you. Sarah, correct? We went over this as a team. If the body of the main report has that as a mistype, the property, any sale of the property should strive to keep as many of the elements property intact with the appropriate restrictions.
You listed it, this is from your report, optionally, the property could be split and sold either as parcels or part retained for public use. This alternative is feasible. That's from your report.
So again, this represents 20 months worth of work. We had 6 people working on this over the course of time. If that is not correct in there, then I'll be happy to take that as amendment. The slides that we presented to you tonight are the position of the committee relative to the recommendation moving forward.
All right, so if we supported your plan, which has a lot of merit, you indicated that if things don't work out, then you would fall back on a secondary position, which might be sell the property. Who's to determine that?
So I think this requires the input of the town at some point to understand what the financials are in terms of the billables in and what's going out. So it's a very simple plus-minus deal.
But at the same time, you said you don't know what the cost of maintaining it is.
We didn't say that, Glenn. What we're saying is it wasn't our charter to provide you with a complete operating model. We have access to resources that can tell you where to go and how to set this up, and we'll be happy. Our references point to that. But we said we've provided a model. It's not something that was plucked out of the sky. There are a dozen or more locations like this, none of which are close by, which is another point that Mr. Silver made. We're not in direct competition with any other site close by to make this as a viable model.
In relation to 40B, since the town owns it, are we able to put any kind of restrictions on it going forward?
Yes.
To prevent it from being a 40B, it's a historic site and so forth. So it's not that it's going to be turned into a 40B. As I heard some talk about that, they're preventing it from becoming a 40B. Is there some...
The town could impose restrictions by town meeting upon the sale of the property through the Board of Selectmen that would restrict or preserve the property, yes.
And if it went forward and you're waiting for a period of time to see if this model plays out, who do you figure would be the one who decides that, well, it's had enough time playing out there and it's just not working out? Who would decide from the town?
Well, it would come from me to you. Once the committee has finished their charge and they're disbanded, it becomes a town-owned property like all the other properties that we have in town, from here to a fire station to a park and so forth. And so basically we then continue the maintenance. We've carried this property now. This would be our 3rd winter coming in.
Do you know what the cost is?
It was
taxes.
Well, we don't pay any taxes.
But insurance.
But it probably cost us around $10,000 per winter if we were heating it. We had to address ice dams and other issues on the property and various components in terms of maintenance and indirect costs going on to the property.
So is there any way to go forward with their proposal at the same time set a limit on when some judgment is going to be made of income versus expense, that it comes back in front of us?
Well, I have a question kind of related to that.
Yeah.
If they were to pass and this $20,000 were to be allocated, would it be practical to then shift the responsibility to the Permanent Building Committee rather than this committee continue with their work, with the Permanent Building Committee maybe having a more objective view of what could be done with the property, and to make that determination, as Glenn just mentioned?
Well, the Permanent Building Committee has more been a vehicle to implement projects as opposed to the determination of projects. So, for example, when the town decided they wanted to convert the town hall to a performing arts center, or center for the arts, and the North Town Hall to a community center, and so forth, that's where the building committee comes in and does its expertise in terms of the management and construction and bidding and project components. They've never really gotten into the use determination. That's not been their venue. Much like we're seeing now with the school project. There's a committee established to to determine the needs of the schools, but once the project becomes, you then put a building committee together, a permanent building committee together to then do the project. They've never been the use determinating committee, and I don't, even with the library project, for example, they weren't the ones determining, it should be a carriage house. It was sort of library trustees and the Friends came and said, we want it to be a carriage house for this purpose, and then the building committee came in and did its effort. So I don't see that if you convey the responsibility off to the permanent building committee, that they're then going to have the expertise or interest or resources to determine a use for the building.
Okay.
And so is it really come out of the building department?
No, it comes out of our we have a public buildings
Facilities department.
a public buildings budget that we maintain the buildings such as this. I mean, this would fall into the same type as we have ongoing capital costs at the former town hall building, which is the Center for the Arts, and the
So do you oversee
North Town
that?
Hall,
Is that-
yes, and the town clock and
You
everything
oversee
else. Yes.
So,
Yes.
That brings up a good point, what you just said, Paul.
Mhm.
So they would have to, I would think that the town halls have to go by the same criteria. I don't know if they're setting the world on fire on income and
Oh, sure, they're in the black. You have me report to you periodically on
Yeah,
their
I know you told
expenses.
me that, yeah.
But it's always been understood, for example, that when the roof needs to be replaced at the town hall,
Right.
that's not a responsibility of the town Center for the Arts or the Chelmsford Community Center, that would be a town incurred expense. So they were basically, the agreement was that they would carry the operating expenditures.
Right.
And so obviously they're not paying back the principal on the note for
Well,
the
that's
rehab
the
and
whole
everything
point,
else.
yeah.
So
But they were basically saying, look,
so
you maintain, your activities should pay for themselves, and they are at both places. They're
this would
covering
have
their
to be
costs.
set up the same way.
Well,
if that's what the town chose to do, yeah.
So Bob, so most of these properties are run through the historical societies of their respective towns. And in the case of Mr. Silver's property, the proceeds from the yearly events are what are put back in for the maintenance of the building. So
Right.
at different points over the course of the 25 years, the money that was accumulated from those events has gone back into the roof and to the other capital improvements
But you
within
have
the
to pay
property.
the ongoing expenses
Understood.
too. like
I understand.
The
And-
water and the light.
But
and
the town doesn't own the Barrett Byam, we don't own the Garrison House and so
Right,
forth. That's
right.
that's all held by
Well,
them.
We do own the town halls, but.
Right.
So where exactly is the 20,000 going?
So again, one of the things that we've tried to make sure of is that we weren't trying to do the entire thing all at once, much like a capital building. This is to engage someone, to solicit and engage someone like a Mr. Silver, to be able to map out what those steps would need to be for that first spiral use as the outdoor event. So you're looking for that coordinator person that will engage the property and understand how to set up the schedule and what kind of preparations would be needed to be complete in order to run that first spiral.
So that's a consultant.
Right, yes.
Whether it's a consultant or not,
Right. So what would you pay that person? Any idea? Would it be the whole 20,000 or would it be something left over? Because I believe that the kitchen facilities would need to be augmented to do the kind of thing that you're talking about.
So this could be a model for the town to work on. If you choose to pay someone as a full-time professional, that's one thing. Again, we're looking at doing it a little differently. There are people out there willing to volunteer for sites. Mr. Silver did it on a part-time basis for that limited amount of money to cover some initial expenses. Whether or not you pay someone the full $20,000 and you come out with just a set of recommendations, or you can find someone that's willing to do it part-time. There are people that are interested in doing that kind of work. Again, Mr. Silver thought he could, if he was a few years younger, he would try it all over again.
I don't know, it just sounds like the 20,000 is inadequate.
So one of the reasons we've come before you tonight is to understand whether or not the language was appropriate. If you deem that the amount should be changed, then that's something we're willing to entertain as well. But, we had to start somewhere.
A couple questions. I mean, one, you have had a structural and engineering analysis of the building and a code analysis. And we've seen some of the preliminary recommendations, such as if you wanted to do it, you'd really take off the non-historic wing and so forth, and making accessible bathrooms and all the things that Glenn's speaking of. But let me come at this from a little bit of a different venue for a question. The adjacent, you in your presentation and materials, you talk about the connection between this and the 99 Mill Road site, and that's held in trust, right? It's a nonprofit trust. And so that being the case, might another approach to this problem being the fact that, as you say, there is synergy between the two properties. As we know, the town isn't in the business naturally of being an event hoster or operator, nor have we historically been known as a great steward of maintaining structures, such as the deteriorated condition for the North Town Hall, and some of the other.
But we are.
Right.
We are in the business.
Right, we're doing better.
Yeah.
But in terms of the uniqueness of this site, and we've heard the goals articulated of preservation of the property, maintaining the integrity and structure of the historic, colonial style building itself, and so forth. And we do know that there are some needs for the adjoining property at 99 Mill Road, such as they have parking concerns and so forth. Has there been consideration in terms of a recommendation that the town seek a special legislation to convey the property at 101 Mill Road to the 99 Mill Road nonprofit, and therefore join the two parcels that are contiguous into one parcel, and have the trustees and others of the nonprofit, which aren't encumbered by the procurement laws and other aspects that we have of a governmental entity, have them pursue the event venue and preservation of the structure? Because what my concern is, and I think this may be what Glenn was getting at, is another winter goes by and another one, and the building becomes non-used, and then issues come up about the beams and the pilings and all this other type of use, to the point where code change and so forth. I mean, might it be a wiser investment and resources to see if the nonprofit of Butter, which again, as you know, has historic access, might it be an appropriate discussion to pursue with them, whether they would be interested? Because I remember when the process was under consideration to acquire the property, there did appear to be some interest in joining the two parcels, but they didn't seem to have the means to do that. So I just wonder, and I think the way to achieve that would be through an act of town meeting, probably through an special act of the legislature to convey the property over, and then you could have all the preservation restrictions and others in such a conveyance. So is that worthy of consideration?
It certainly is absolutely worthy of conversation. We had talked to Dave on a number of different avenues. One of the challenges that we have over the course of time, right, was the churn with the school committee building needs assessment and whether or not they were going to be able to use the property. The stewards have been working through the issues of the estate and literally inventorying the huge contents that are on the 99 site as they try to map their way along. And I think they're trying to find their way as well. And certainly, if having more volunteers to help them along would sort of expedite that. But we were trying to look at something where it wasn't an either-or option. In other words, it didn't have to be like a town hall where it was 100% done before it could be opened in and up. Or 99 Mill didn't have to have their way fully mapped out before they could use it. We know that the MEC Collaborative used that back space for outdoor events. We do know of models that started out small using outdoor events, and we're able to book those sites very quickly, and that starts generating revenue and to allow you to maintain the building while you're working towards those solutions. I think it's a great idea. Whether or not we have other actions that come from tonight, I'm sure the committee would be willing to entertain them. I think what we need is part of the reason for this was to start to move forward, not to allow another winter to go by, to allow the opportunity to start utilizing the site in some regard and afford that opportunity to put some money back into it while the adjoining property sort of finds its way a little bit, and while the town can also find a way to embrace it as an anchor site.
Would it be a good idea for them to maybe have another meeting and then come back?
Yeah.
Before we make it.
Right, because you
making our recommendation.
Right, because you'll be finishing you'll be meeting. This board will be meeting in 2 weeks to start its recommendations on town meeting warrant articles, and then you'll come back the following week. So in essence, there is a 3-week window where you could pursue a couple of these suggestions.
That makes sense to you, Billy?
Sure. So, I guess what I'd appreciate it is we understand with clarity, what do you have for a specific action for us to bring back to you that's part of your recommendation?
But also, mind the fact, the Finance Committee will be looking to catch up with you folks as well, and they really want to get their work done by the end of this month as well, because they've got to print their book. So, we're 5 weeks, we're at town meeting. That's,
I think that'd be more up to you as to what you want to present, is to
I mean, I think the risk you run, to help while you give you a chance to think about this, the risk you run is it goes to town meeting, and as Glenna raises concerns that will be raised at town meeting, that the article doesn't get supported. And then we're there without, any funding action, and then the property goes another.
I'm a town meeting member. My first question would be is how viable is it that if I give you $20,000 that you're going to be able to maintain this property and sustain it from its revenue? I have no idea.
So, Glenn, I'm also
maintaining it.
I'm also a town meeting member, and I also know from being at town meeting frequently that town meeting doesn't look favorably upon bodies that try to overstep what their charter is. So we've been running a fine balancing act. I've been in constant contact with Pat, understanding whether or not we were going too far. What my concern is if you want us to take a specific action, members of town meeting can see the meeting tonight and understand that the Board of Selectmen are asking us to do something that's a little bit what we believe further than our charter. If you want some specific operating information, we can take that as an action, and we can feed that back. My concern is that we don't get a backlash at town meeting for having overstepped our bounds.
Sure. I would ask for to ask them to engage in a discussion over the next 3 weeks with the trustees for 99 Mill Road to see if they would have any interest in acquiring and being responsible for the preservation, and the key word being preservation of the property. Because I think that's the ultimate concern. No one wants to see this structure fall into disrepair and be demolition by neglect or something of a tragic outcome.
I
we
also
don't want it to be the next
see a
Pink
40B
House.
there.
Right. We don't want it to be the next Dutton House or anything like that. Right. And that's what I'm saying, by restriction. I'm not
That's
so
a
sure.
bad part of Mill Road.
Right. I'm not so sure people want the town being the manager and preserver and entertainer. And not saying that, because I think it's all we heard this evening was the venue, the attractiveness of the two properties adjacent to each other in terms of, for weddings and the access to the stream and everything else. Again, we don't need to be that entity that has that. We could be the one holding the restriction and have another party be responsible for preserving and operating, because as we know, a nonprofit can do things, and even they could even have a caretaker in the property that we can't be doing, trying to, with all the procurement and management issues, if that's to go. The other option, I think, would be more extreme, and I'm not so sure there'd be support for that either, which would be, segmenting the parcel out, selling the home as a residential dwelling with a restriction, and then obviously that would certainly lessen the viability and long-term interest of the 99 property. So that's what I'm thinking. If stepping back for the big issue of the area and the region as a town, the properties are sort of better conjoined as opposed to separate.
If we were to get some kind of agreement with 99, I assume it would have to be a financial.
No, I mean, I think you'd have to come back with an article, a separate article, probably a special article, a special town meeting article, which we've done within an annual, which we could turn around in 2 weeks.
What I'm thinking
is to go that way of special legislation and convey the property. That's pretty sudden.
Could that piece of property be eligible under the Preservation Act?
Sure, exactly. Community preservation.
But now, once we give it to them, would it be?
Yes, because we put money into another historic property in the center where the clock is, because it was deemed to be an historic value and preservation to the community. So that is an option for financing as well.
I would think if they're joined together with a common purpose, that someone with a big vision would see this as a very viable entity as a whole, that both of them together are worth more than the parts separately.
Exactly. And usually that entity is not a town entity. It's really, and that's what we talked earlier about it being a private historic trust, historical society, or in this case, a nonprofit that again, the town could restrict the deed on the property and even have a reversion clause in the event that the nonprofit,
screws up,
couldn't do it, and then you could retain the property. I mean, there are ways I think that could be structured if that's the direction that the community wanted to go.
Just one other brief point. We are, not that I'm seeking to extend it any further, but we are chartered through the end of the year. We felt compelled to try and bring you some information in the recommendation. We were sort of timeline restricted with waiting for the school needs assessment to complete and things. We made a promise to them not to proceed until they knew what their position was, and we've tried hard to work around that. It's not like we meet once a month or once every other month. We've been a pretty dedicated group. Whether or not you think something should be held in abeyance, and you want us to finish up through the end of the year and do something in the spring is also a possibility. I think to accomplish all the things that have just been vocalized in a 2-week time frame is probably aggressive.
No, but I think a discussion at town meetings such as this would be probably very helpful for the direction for the board and you in the community. I think to pull the article and not take action and just pass over it would be a lost opportunity. I think, as you suggest, bring forth the request or presentation as you have, and then you're going to see the type of debate and discussion, and then someone's going to get up there and either amend a motion or make a motion, to put a direction, and then, like you said, probably come back in the spring with a means to execute it. So I would say that this should go to town meeting, and then I think we'd get a lot of, in a matter of discussion at town meeting, would be a lot of insight and sense of the community of what direction they want to go.
So the committee should make plans to present and appear before the Finance Committee and stay engaged through the end of the year to act upon whatever recommendations come from that.
I would beef this up and see if you can get some more information on those locations, as to, what kind of costs they incur.
So
without going into a whole operational thing, but just.
So Bob, this has gone way longer than I ever expected it to.
Right,
it was supposed to be an executive summary of 18 slides. That's what the report was about. And there's lots of information in the appendices. We can get more. We have lots more that we're going to be putting up on the website as closure of the work as well. But so for now, just that I understand that you will proceed with the article as it is. Suffer the slings and arrows at town meeting as they may be, and then move forward based on those actions there, Paul.
Yeah, but I would also suggest, as we said earlier, that not to idle, but I think you'd still would have those discussions with the 99 Mill Road nonprofit to see if they have any interest in what synergies there might be between the property, and at least you could say you had an initial discussion at town meeting about whether
there was money attached to them purchasing it. Now there's no money.
Well, that would
only
be,
with development on their part.
That would be a discussion that the community would have to say. I didn't say it would be a purchase.
I don't think you said that.
I didn't say that. I said there could be a conveyance. I didn't say a purchase or a sale.
But not in an attractive way, to maintain the property on an ongoing basis and develop it as a bigger venue for the town.
Right. And my concern is, I think perhaps one of the reasons that when the property was available for sale and the 99 Mill Road didn't pursue the acquisition, it just may have been too much to take on the acquisition costs and the conversion and operations. And that's why I'm not going to restrict it at this point in time to say, oh yes, it will be conveyed at a price. I'm just saying if the property were conveyed, would they be then able to tackle the preservation and ongoing operations of the property in terms of preserving the structure as well as the property.
But Bill, you should also know, my normal disclaimer, like with the dog hearing, is that this board might vote not to support you too. You'll always run that risk. So that's why I'm saying, if you can beef this up a little more and give us a little more to chew on, then you might get more affirmative votes on it.
Understood. And please, if you have any trouble reading the full up report, there's a lot more information in there. Let me know, and we'll make sure that you get a proper copy of it. Okay.
I just want to add that I think that everything that's been going on here, I think that it makes a lot of sense. The fact that this property, we keep talking about it together, I really like this direction of maybe putting the property together. The other thing I wanted to say is that this project that you've been on for the last few years is very high visibility. It's one of the few that I do hear about all the time. People are always like, oh, what's going on with 101 Mill Road? So I think people are very eager to hear your report this fall, and they really, I think they would like to see some numbers applied to it, not just the pictures, because we've seen the pictures a year ago, and now we just want to see why the recommendations make so much sense.
Absolutely, and we actually have another meeting scheduled between now and town meeting, and take this opportunity once again to encourage folks to come out. We did our markets and open houses. Our bi-weekly meetings are sort of sparsely attended, so for those citizens that are out there this evening and have been expressing those interests to you, we usually meet down in room LL6, which is the fire training room, every other Wednesday. Please look for the meeting posters. They are put up promptly. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Bill.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Town manager reports?
Don't have any, do you?
No, real brief.
According to my book, you don't have any.
Right, I don't have any, no,
You're missing pages all over. Just kidding. We're missing pages.
Well, they just don't give it to me anymore.
Get his stick back?
Yeah, he
yes, I did. I did get returned his thing. Mr. Chairman, just a couple things. One is I'll just remind the board, and obviously we got the town meeting warrants coming up soon, but we do have a tri-board meeting next Monday evening between the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, and Finance Committee. That's obviously the purpose of that meeting pertains to the fall annual town meeting and obviously the financial aspects and so forth. I did check with the town accountant this afternoon. The balance sheet has been submitted, but the Department of Revenue, as of this afternoon, has not certified the town's free cash. When I spoke to Darlene, she said they were still working on it. I'm hopeful that it's any day now so that we can have a productive discussion next Monday evening. And also, the Finance Committee has posted its meeting for Thursday night, and they'll be getting their review of the articles. And then the other thing I wanted to note to the board, just quickly, we did receive back from the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission the liquor licenses for the 2 town halls. And Bob, I do have the liquor policies for the preserving of liquor at each of those establishments, and we're in the process of obtaining the insurance for the two sites, as well as the distribution acquisition of alcohol for those sites. Because as you know, with now being a permanent license holder, we have to purchase property from an approved state vendor and so forth under
That's
the
right, yeah.
so those, I just wanted the board to know that those processes are in place, and hopefully by the end of this month that the licenses will be in effect, and that they'll be able to begin their venues coming up in the next
How about
weeks
Reddy's?
ahead. The what?
Reddy's liquor license, is that?
I have not seen that one come through yet. Speaking of developments, since we're on the topic, I did hear from the building commissioner that the auto fair up in Drum Hill, they have received their occupancy certificate, so we expect that development up in Drum Hill with the Nissan dealership should be opening real soon. And so we'll look for that. We'll look for that activity to take place as well. So that's where that's going. We also did have the conveyance of the Hong and Kong liquor license. I believe they were reopening this perhaps as early as this evening, because they had conveyed the property and we're undergoing the change of licensing and so forth with the Board of Health and the other boards. And I believe it said that they may be open now, if not now, shortly as well. And so that's it. I hear rumors as well about the center, about Jesse's Place, but I've not seen any application for a common victualler for that location.
Is what it says.
Yeah, that's what it says, but we've not received an application there, so I don't have anything to come before you regarding that property as well. So.
A female name, Mary.
All right. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. You want a motion to?
Yeah, what I do have for you is tonight, as we said, we're 5 weeks away from town meeting. You have the final warrant. It does not differ materially from the previous warrant. As we mentioned earlier, your next 2 meetings, which will take place 2 and 3 weeks from now, we'll have the presentations for you to make your recommendations to town meeting. And the same process will be going on with the Finance Committee over the next few weeks. And obviously, they'll get their report to press beginning of October, because town meeting is the 17th of October. So that's where, so basically, we would need a motion to approve and authorize the warrant.
When we do that,
Yeah.
number 8, handicap accessible improvements.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's
Why
at the
is
senior
it
center.
written in capital?
Because we received a concern from Len Olenchuk and the senior center that there are some immediate door adjustments for accessibility that have to take place over there for automatic openers at the bathrooms and the exterior doors that need to take place. I think it's like a $20,000.
They have doors
effort.
out in front that open
Right.
when you walk.
Right.
And then you get to the second set of doors and you got to
Exactly.
and they're heavy as a mountain.
Exactly. So that's why we want to go to town
That one
meeting.
gonna be resolved?
Exactly. So that we're not waiting to do that work next July.
Oh, okay.
And the same thing with the bathrooms too. If you ever push those doors, I mean, if you're in, exactly. So that's what that article is. We're working with Len Olenchuk and the Kathleen Canavan Facilities Director and such to
How much
bring
is
that
that?
forward. I think it's 20,000.
Okay.
Which meeting we have hard numbers on all of these?
You'll have them all at your next meeting.
At the next, is
Right.
that the tri-board meeting or our meeting?
If the free cash gets certified, they'll have them at the tri-board meeting, but you're not expected to make recommendations at the tri-board meeting. It'd be a discussion. I'll hope to put the proposals and discussion out there at the tri-board meeting, but for example, I know some of the numbers on some of the articles, but I don't know the certified free cash and so forth, so we'll see where we are at that time.
Okay.
Okay.
So a motion would needed to approve the warrant for the...
Okay, I'll make a motion that we post the warrant for the fall 2016 annual town meeting, which begins on October 17th, 2016 at 7:30 PM at the Senior Center.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appointments?
Two quick appointments this evening. One is Alistair Redmond for the Chelmsford Center for the Arts Advisory Committee for a one-year term ending June 30th, 2017, and then Laura Smith for the Economic Development Commission for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2019.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town manager's appointments as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Selectmen liaisons and referrals. Bob, you have,
I always go first.
you want to go last?
Yeah.
Glenn?
Just that I attended the school committee meeting last week. They have decided that there is no suitable facility to outsource the kindergarten at, and that they're recommending that they buy additional pods, 4 at each elementary school.
So that's in addition to their original plan?
That is there. That was one of the
That
options.
was the plan.
That was one of the options, and is
So what
their
is it?
final solution.
20?
Short term.
How many? 20?
4.
No, how many?
Oh.
Whole job.
Uh,
It's 5.
No, excuse me, 12.
I was going to say 4 sites.
No,
Right, 4
12.
sites.
4 sites.
Right.
12, 3 at each site.
3 in each? Okay.
And it's also not only the purchase, it's also the preparation and,
Yeah.
and citing.
That's the $8 million number.
8 to 9, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was told by the superintendent that hopefully I'll have final numbers by tomorrow. And again, as soon as I get those, I'll pass them along to you, because again, I'm trying to have a productive discussion next Monday night at the tri-board meeting.
But
I
there's
would like
still,
to see both those and the operating numbers together, because too many times that we, if we do this and then we say, oh, then there's going to be another request, there's
Yeah.
going to be another request. I'd
That's
like,
gonna be-
what is the full request of the school plus what it's going to cost to do the
You don't get that
maintenance
till
and
and
next-
there is still no answer on their long-term solution.
They won't give you that number because that's part of their budget for next year. They won't give that to you in October. Right, Paul?
Well, I think we've heard numbers. We've heard $800,000. We've heard an $800,000 number for.
They've mentioned 800,000
Right.
for a
Yeah,
long
but
time.
it's, I heard that when they were gonna expand the kindergartens into the existing schools, it was
They
800.
were a little short on that one, Bob.
Yeah. Well, it's actually $8,800,000.
Can I have my list?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. I attended the opening ceremonies for the 4-H fair, which happened last month, and that's always an exciting event where they have all the groups just march by the reviewing stand, and they had good weather for the 4-H fair this year, which sometimes is a challenge for them. So congratulations to those kids. I also attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Neshoba Advanced Manufacturing Program, which was a couple of weeks ago. They have all new equipment there.
At Neshoba, is that it?
At Neshoba Tech. They have all new manufacturing equipment there. It's it's a totally renovated space that they have, and supposedly they worked with some of the local businesses to get machinery that the kids so if the kids work on those, they'll have a job when they
good.
come out. So it's a very exciting program there, and congratulations to Neshoba for getting a grant so they could purchase all that machinery and do it all at once, rather than initially they were going to do it piecemeal, but now they have all the new equipment, and so more power to them. I want to thank everybody for coming to the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony yesterday morning. Had a good turnout, and you'll notice the new a structure out there that has the piece of steel that we brought back from New York earlier this year. That's another permanent structure in the memorial. Come by and take a look. It's definitely a nicely maintained memorial out there, and we're very proud of it. I am, anyway. Another reminder about the library book sale this Friday, September 16th, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There'll be lots of books, so come and get something to read. And just one more thing, Paul, I wanted to mention about the Williamsburg, the progress that's so if you could maybe talk a little bit
we did
more
receive
about
the environmental notification form for the project, so the engineering work is ongoing on that. As you imagine, because it does involve federal waterway, because it's the Merrimack River, which goes into the ocean, and the environmental aspects, there's this, good 1.5 inch thick document, which is typical what you'd have in this process. So things are moving along.
What's this, Wellman you talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
So that is progressing.
Right, and the deadline for comments on that is the end of this month, so that's actually good, because that means it is moving along,
Right.
and maybe sometime in the next year or two, they'll actually start doing the work.
Right.
It's about 100 feet from where I live.
So that's all I have.
Today.
Thank you.
That's right. No, I can close it by 4 years from now.
I just want to congratulate the committee for yesterday for the 9/11 ceremony. I thought it was very well done, and very, very pretty park out there.
It is, thank you.
I also just, while we're thinking of yesterday, we should I just want to recognize the efforts from the Public Works and Public Safety.
Oh, yeah, so
for
many
that,
people, right.
for that squall that came through yesterday afternoon. It was quite serious on Golden
Yes,
Cove
over here
Road.
it was
and-
much worse, because
Yeah.
it was,
And they really did came out and work with National Grid to really pull things
Been
out.
real power for a long time. Right?
Exactly.
3-4 hours.
Right, but we were hit pretty. That was probably the worst thunderstorms we've had certainly all season and in quite some time. And it was almost to the case it may have been, wind shear. It was that,
It was kind of a burst, or what do they
Yeah,
call it?
a microburst.
Microburst or
Yeah.
something? Bob?
I'm good tonight. I have
Oh, you're
nothing
good
to add
tonight?
tonight.
I want to first congratulate Pat for a great job yesterday on the 9/11 thing.
Thank you.
I think it really went super well, and people, it was really nice meeting Dave, what's the one that was killed there from Chelmsford?
Oh, Dave Bernard's wife, yeah.
Dave Bernard.
Bernard.
It was really nice meeting her, and I talked to her for a little while, and it was really, she's a sweet person, and God love her for being able to do this. The other thing is that, I don't know if any of you have noticed it, but when you come into Drum Hill after you go by the police station, that mountain is getting mighty high. And this was something we were concerned about, and I'm surprised we haven't heard from someone over in Stedman Street yet.
No, we've had all the engineering reports as they've come in.
But they seem high, Paul.
It may seem high, but that is what they're permitted and approved for. And in fact,
Are they almost done?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they're basically now putting the cap on. And the most recent report we received last week is that the prior area that was capped it's no good. They basically have to put a cap over the entire site.
That's the one behind.
Right.
Behind where
It
the
all
car
has to be
wash is.
redone.
Right.
It all has to be redone, and so at this point, the trucks and filling in terms of that aspect are done. It's now a question of capping it, and they have met with Evan and me. They're looking at what the future use is for that site. Somehow solar related, we anticipate. But they have engaged, and they've even contacted the assessor's office regarding the valuation of the property.
Right.
So they clearly have in mind some type of income generation from that
It's still
site.
21E, no matter what way you look at it.
Well, it's a landfill. It's a capped landfill.
Yeah.
Right, and
It's
as we know
capped,
as we know next door in Lowell, they have a
Yeah.
capped landfill, but they have a solar generation there, and they have a DPW salt shed over there.
They also have gas that comes out of it.
That's
don't they?
methane because
Yeah,
of the
methane.
nature. Right,
Yeah.
our site was
Will
more
never
fill.
generate
Right,
methane.
will never generate methane, but their intention is not to leave the place
Yeah.
fallow. I think they're looking at some type of solar development or otherwise over
So
there.
they made money picking up the dirt, now they make money selling it, selling the
Selling the
site back to
site. Yeah,
somebody.
that's what investors do. Yeah.
That's it, George.
Any press questions? Oh, thank you. Could I have a motion to executive session, please?
Yeah, make a motion that we adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing strategies with respect to collective bargaining, not to return to open session.
I'll second.
Bob?
Oh,
Aye.
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 Thank you. Good evening.